Hi, I'm Alex. I'm the local representative of Austrian Startups here in Carinthia. I'm with Austrian Startups for more than 5 years now. I started my first company, I think 11 years ago. Right now I have 3 companies. The main one is a printing workshop where we build awesome stuff for stage design, for fair booths. Actually, my background is international business relationships. I studied that, was a couple of years abroad, and kind of found my way back home to Carinthia. So now here I am.
Hi, I'm Anja. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Harmony & Care, our pretty grown-up startup. We founded in 2015 as a B2B e-health company. What we are doing with Harmony & Care, we are matching with a software as a service solution, caregivers with patients in the elderly care market. And since 2019, we also have a B2C business in the 24-hour care itself. And we are acting there as an agency under the label Care Plus.
Hello, my name is Rudolf from Symvaro. We have founded Symvaro some years ago, and we make software solutions for water and waste companies. So within a very conservative field, we create a stunning state-of-the-art software as a service solutions with the idea in mind to change the industry, how the industry works, give them a lot of efficiency and integrate the citizens whenever it's possible. We are now for several years in the field, and for 5 years with our main product, which is called Waterloo. And with Waterloo, water companies can get more efficient, smarter, bring their processes into the digital age. Latest at the beginning of next year, we will grow outside the German-speaking world.
In my opinion, what matters more for startup success is the power of endurance and professional relationship with investors. And I think willingness to grow on a personal level with the number of tasks. Because, I mean, when you start as a small startup, the task seems smaller, but also really problematic and often difficult to solve. But in growing, like also with employees and leading more and more people,
there are a lot of factors. So it's the product, sure it's the team, sure it's the market. These are all relevant questions. But within this crisis we have right now, I believe the most critical factor is the willingness of the entrepreneur to go outside his comfort zone. I find myself very often in that cozy comfort zone where everything runs and things are working. And if you are too long in that zone and don't have the willingness to take a step out and create your company new, destroy things that are already working, to create things that are working better, I think that's the most important factor in the success of a startup.
I have like 3 success tips. The first one would be to think about the right legal form of business in the beginning, because we made the mistake that we had the wrong legal form and we had to invest around 10,000 euros to change everything in a GmbH. My second tip would be to have for sure co-founders. Founding alone a startup is not so easy. And it's always good to have sparring partners with you, but it also should be the right co-founders. I mean, not just a big amount of co-founders is important, but to have the right ones. And my third tip would be to be willing also to switch goals and sometimes even your main business, because you start something, but during the run you also see that some things or some market circumstance change, and then you have to be willing to adapt yourself and the business to them.
Very important for success is to listen to your customers, to always adapt to the situation because it's changing every day, and especially work as hard as possible on not being a startup anymore.
The best reason I figured out is the intrinsic motivation to change the world a bit. You have found something into your field, into your personal experiences that makes you angry, that lets you disappointed, that doesn't work the way you would like things to work. And if you have found that pain point, that's, in my experience, the best start to found a startup. A pain point that hurts yourself and the ability to fix it, then you're in the right way.
So the startup community here in Carinthia is quite small, but I think very strong. So there's a small group of guys who are super successful with their startups, and we meet up a couple of times, we see each other on different events. But yeah, we're quite far away from Vienna, so it's really hard to compete with the main cities. But still, if you have a really good business, a really good idea, I think it doesn't matter where you have your startup, as long as you love where you are and you have this community surrounding you. And I think we have a quite strong community here in Carinthia. Actually, this one startup, The Thinking, I founded, is a hardware startup. So we build products. And I think in nowadays, it doesn't matter where you're located. It's super easy to send your product anywhere. As long as you have really good internet, it doesn't really matter. For me personally, it was very important to have people surrounding me that could help me, that could boost me, give me some tips. And that's what I found here. And the work-life balance in Carinthia, I think everyone knows it. If you're kind of stressed out, you just jump in the next lake 5 minutes from here. So that's a cool thing.
To be honest, I think Carinthia is a good trial market, but it is really cost sensitive. So customers in here, if you compare business, because we make more or less in all Bundesland and all region business, they're really cost sensitive. So you learn how to save money and how to make your product maybe better priced. And we have also built, which is an accelerator for startups in Carinthia. But I think the downturn is that everything is really centered in Klagenfurt and Villach. And for people who really live regional in villages or something, they either have to come to Klagenfurt or Villach, or it's super problematic to build a business over there because there's not so much, not so much help. And people here in the south of Austria, they're a little bit biased. First, when you start a startup, you think, oh my God, I don't know if I like to be a customer now after being in the market for 4 years, and people know me from media and also the whole startup and my employees, they trust us, but this trust needs some time in here that it develops and everybody thinks you're a really good company.
Yeah, several players in the startup community which try to connect startups, connect cities, corporates, politics, and so on. Is this a startup community? Yes and no. I strongly believe we will never have that vivid startup community you can find in Berlin or in New York. Sure, it's not that dense. But what we find here in Carinthia is a pretty good network between founders and young entrepreneurs and all the regional players. And if you want, you can be you can be very easy a part of that network. So yes, startup community is good in Carinthia, and yes, there are people which are pushing and try to improve it. At the end, it depends on us, on startups, on founders to make it living and make it grow. And we try together with partners to make more presentations, invite people into our startup, and work together with universities and students. So yes, it's growing, and sure, there's always room above. But I think in Carinthia we are on a pretty good way.
So what is good in Carinthia is definitely the work-life balance, because we're working there where other people make holidays. The living costs are quite moderate, so it's not like in Vienna where you really have to live in a 5 square meter apartment to survive. So that's really positive. And also that you're really near to other markets like Italy and Slovenia, because there's a very international exchange here. So there are a lot of startups from Italy founding their company here in Carinthia, and also from Slovenia, and other way around the same. So there's a big exchange. We have, just to mention the Podium Conference, for example, that's the main startup conference here in the Alpe-Adriatic region, where all the startups from the whole region come together. But yeah, the downsides, it's really, we're kind of far away from Vienna, where everything is happening with the startup thing. So it's hard to get venture capital. So there are some business angels running around here. But if you really want to grow, you have to go to the big ones, and they're not located here. But we have some startups who got like huge investments sitting right now in Silicon Valley, if I'm just talking about Bitmoving, for example. And through them, because they help the local guys here too, they still have the office here in Frankfurt, you get really interesting input and tips how to approach different investors and so on. But as I mentioned, it's a kind of a downside that the ecosystem is not that big that you could like choose or apply for different things very easily. But yeah, we're small but very strongly connected together.
We have a lot of like startups we know, and there's a really good network. We help each other with a lot of information between the startups. It doesn't matter from which field. So when there are new fundings published or issued in Vienna, we always share information and help each other around. So also with investors and everything. So we are kind of a big family. But I think people in here, it would be nice if we could work more tight with Viennese, Slovenian startups, or people, startups from Graz especially, because I think in Klagenfurt we are a small number, so it would be good to have more networking events really, where sometimes people from Vienna come over, especially in the summer when the lake Wörthersee is really nice, for a good co-working atmosphere, and I think they could be done more, to be honest.
I believe that nowadays it's not relevant. It doesn't care if you found your startup in Berlin or in New York or in Klagenfurt. And ideas spread worldwide. So the big advantage to be in Silicon Valley, in my opinion, is not an advantage anymore. Sure, there are more talents, but there's more competition too. You can find great minds in Carinthia too. So I believe nowadays the location where you start your startup is not relevant anymore. The most important thing in running a startup or running a company, it's your independence. And the moment I lose my independence, it's not entrepreneurship anymore. So there are a lot of ways, figure out which way is the best one. There are a lot of fundings, figure out which funding is the best one for you, but never rely on that and make yourself dependent on the ecosystem. That's my belief in founding a startup.
In Carinthia, where we're always quite strong in this Alpe-Adriatic region, so we have quite strong bonds with Italy and Slovenia. So we help quite a lot of startups who just wanted to test their products in new markets. For example, Slovenia is an awesome place to do that if you really want to go abroad. In the last 2 years, I think the company Infineon is quite strong. They're producing semiconductors, like every iPhone has a part of Infineon in it, produced here in Villach. And they are right now going into the startup sector a little bit more. So I think in the near future, there will be a little bit of a boost in this microelectronic semiconductor startup industry here in Carinthia.
I wanted to always change something, and I mean, with our startup and with our business in the B2C and B2B market, we really see that we can change the lives for elderly people in care, so they really enjoy living. And so I think this makes me really I have the feeling that I can change something to the better, and also that more or less I first I can help them, but I see now that you can also earn money with that, because I think you're a social business, but you have to also see that you earn money, because otherwise you cannot continue mostly working on something if there's no money in the market. There's a need in the market that something is changed, and also that there's more digitalization. So there's really much going on in the elderly care field, but not many startups are dedicating the time on this topic. So I think there's a big future in this market, to be honest.
I was very unhappy in my last job. So I quitted first, and then I had to figure out what's my founding idea. So I made it in the wrong direction. I would recommend to future founders, don't do that. So first have an idea in mind and figure out how you can start a startup. What's the upside? What's the downside? Find a team, and then if it doesn't work anymore, then quit your job, but not start with quitting the job. But that was my motivation. I will tell you why I quit. Because within my job, I was very limited in my creativity. And I figured out that I have a lot of ideas, and I would like to move things and bring my ideas to the ground. But in the company I've worked, this was not possible that way. I wished it would be possible. If they would have said to me 10 years ago, Rudolf, that's a great idea, let's figure out a way how we can do it together, I wouldn't be entrepreneur today. I would still work for that company. So maybe this is a small tip for all the corporates out there. Listen to your staff, and if they bring you ideas, don't push them back.
When I'm thinking of what is needed in Carinthia, I think it's easy to make a wish, but it's a different thing to really make it happen. One thing would be, we have co-working spaces, we have an accelerator, we have banks who are funding quite a lot. We have all kinds of organizations, but one downside is that every organization or everyone who wants to do something for the startup ecosystem here. So I think what is needed is like a coordination team. For now in Carinthia, it's not really well coordinated. The events, the subventions, the support, and you also don't have an overview of what is out there in the market in Carinthia. It's very complex because everyone is doing something for himself, and you don't have the critical mass of startups here. So it's quite funny. Everyone wants to do like a podium discussion, and they're always the same 3 people on stage because there are not more people that could talk about startups here. But it would be really nice if you have kind of a student organization or whatever, who is really in charge, who gets the funds, can really then focus and work on the startup community here in Carinthia, because the potential is really, really big. All you have to do is kind of coordinate the whole thing together, and that would be really nice to have it. Yeah, another thing I think is missing a little bit in Carinthia is, I saw in different regions that there are people from the private sector stepping in and also investing a lot of money in the startup ecosystem. And these people are pulling kind of, or taking over the lead in which direction the region could go. And I think this is also missing kind of in Carinthia, that you have one strong opinion maker. Could be a company like Infineon, could be a person as private, from the private sector, or a business angel or whatever. But he has to have a strong voice to get it, all stakeholders kind of on track. And yeah, we are lacking a little bit of that nobody has this opinion leadership.